For a while we've been hearing about Universal creating a new franchise featuring all of its classic monsters, and thanks to a new article in Variety today, we get a few more details about what to possibly expect. It's easy to see why Universal would be interested in this idea for resurrecting some of their classic monsters. I mean, just look at Marvel. Connected universe equals cash in the bank, baby! And Universal is definitely hurting for cash, having one of the biggest years of the entire studio, if not ever. So of course I'm excited by the idea of getting new movies featuring some of these monsters, but the question is, will they actually be any good? And so far it's hard to say. I mean, the two guys that are running the Brain Trust are responsible for Fast and the Furious and Transformers. Not exactly known for being very intellectual kind of material. They also don't really feature much in the way of character developments, and these are some of the most iconic characters of all time. They really do need care and attention to be brought back to the big screen in the right way after so many years. So these two guys are in charge of a brain trust of writers, and each writer individually is working on one of a number of the monsters. We already know about The Mummy that's coming in 2017, but they also announced that we'll be getting new films featuring Dracula, Van Helsing, The Bride of Frankenstein, and The Wolfman. And their plan is to release a new one every year. I mean, wow, that's already overkill. They haven't even gotten out of the gate, and I'm already tired of hearing of how many movies I'm gonna have to be sitting through. The idea is for each of these movies to actually have interconnecting characters, with some monsters showing up in other movies, and maybe leading to some sort of, I don't know, Avengers-style team-up in the long run, 15 movies down the line or whatever. The characters will interact with each other across movies. We're incubating it at the moment, and we're taking the time to get it right. I don't know if time's gonna save you on this one, boys. Seems like it's gonna be a pretty uphill battle to be able to pull this off. But one thing that seems weird is they don't mention the first movie that was apparently actually part of this new franchise, which is Dracula Untold. I can see why they wouldn't mention it. I mean, the movie was total crap, but I thought that was supposed to be the first chapter of setting this whole thing up. So already they've pushed it to the next movie down the line and saying, well, hopefully we'll get it to work this time. And it seems the way that they're going with The Mummy is featuring the mummy itself as the main character. And of course, in the classic Brendan Fraser trilogy, he was the lead and the mummy was just somebody on the sidelines. I guess he turned into a human at some points and was able to talk then, but ultimately it was the Fraser show. In regards to the brain trust of writers that they're overseeing, Alex Kurtzman had this to say. The idea is that we have a deep bench of brains to consult with about how their monster fits into our world as we go forward. I don't know, it's hard to say if it's a good idea for them to be planning ahead that much already. It seems like they should be focusing on making a good movie in and of itself, and maybe they can have a few teases in there. But being so dedicated to this kind of untested idea seems a little risky, and one that'll probably come to bite them in the ass. Kurtzman and Morgan say they've been watching all of the classic Universal monster movies in order to get an idea of what is sacred and what they need to be beholden to, and then what they can kind of twist and put their own take on. This is already what kind of scares me, because we've seen that already with Van Helsing. The 2015 version of modernizing things is possibly even worse than it was in 2004 or whenever Van Helsing came out. Because the sort of du jour flavor for now is keeping things less fantastic and more in the real world. He's supposed to be Dracula, he's a monster, that's the idea, that's the character, that's what it has to be. So of course parallels are drawn to Marvel and their cinematic universe with what they're trying to create, and I will call the Monster Cinematic Universe, MCU. Yeah, it's good. So Morgan compares the monsters to superheroes and basically says, heroes tend to be perfect, but most people in an audience aren't ever going to know what it's like to be the smartest, strongest, or fastest person alive. But there's a darkness inside everybody, and everybody wants to be able to turn a curse into empowerment. The monsters have been in the shadows, and now it's time to bring them out into the light. And based on the quote, it sounds like they're going to be kind of taking the monsters out of their original idea as essentially villains and making them sort of tortured heroes in a way, and I don't really think that that's what anyone wants to see. So it really does sound like they're going to try to make these into monster Avengers in a way, and again, I don't really know. Are they going to team up to fight some kind of bad guy, otherworldly thing? It seems like they've backed themselves into a corner already with this whole kind of shared universe, and rather than letting a movie be its own thing, they've already commissioned it into this, grinder of the future plots and things like that, and there's no room for a movie to actually just stand on its own. Man, my judgment may be a little premature, but again, I'm not really sure I can trust these two guys. I mean, their resumes sort of speak for themselves. They can do big budget stuff that appeals to a lot of people, but I wouldn't say those are necessarily like great movies or anything like that, and again, leave something to be desired as far as characterizations and things like that are concerned. But that's just me. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments below, and until next time, thanks for watching.